Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things feted in popular culture. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, it's like if Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, instead of joining forces to create one of the most infamous duos in NBA history, joined forces to create one of the best podcasts in nerd history. Is that fair, Cory?
I think that's very fair, but I would
Which
not
one
want
of
to
us is
listen to.
Steph Curry and which one of us is Klay Thompson?
I mean, you're the one who said it out loud, so I'm going to let you decide that, but you have to,
Fuck
there's
it.
one answer.
I'll be Steph Curry then.
Fuck.
I gave you your opportunity. You just dropped the ball.
I just thought you were going to be nice and just say that, but okay, fine. No, okay.
No,
I guess so. Guys, if you can't tell, it's been a minute. We don't actually know how to do this anymore, so.
I think it will be as good as usual. You take that how
Yes.
you want to take it. But
Let's just keep, yes.
yeah, it's
Sorry,
been,
guys. I was
while.
moving and I got sick, so there's a whole lot of things that happened to me that
I don't
just
know why
kind of.
Cory's lied to you. He fled the country so that he wouldn't have to do the Bulletproof Monk podcast.
That's also true. That's where I spent 2 of my weeks doing.
And joke's on him. Now that he's back, we're still doing it next episode. So before we jump into it, I've already teased a little bit of the business, but if you are, like I said, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, don't forget to follow. And you can also follow us on social media at Next Time On Pod all over the place. You can find all of our archived writing, all of our archived podcasts, all that good stuff at nexttimeon.net. And if you are watching and reading along, like I said, Bulletproof Monk is our Curse the Rewatch episode coming up. I think next. We might have missed we were going to do it next episode a while
We
ago.
figured that we should do a check-in, and also like
we missed a lot of stuff.
lot of TV just kind of dropped out of fucking nowhere, so we had to. Then had done a lot of binging the last 2 days.
Yeah, so
This is the most TV I've watched in like a solid month. I think I really haven't been watching much television, and then I just ingested about 12 hours worth of television in the last 24 hours.
I guess I'm sad to say. No, I'm not even really sad to say. I love TV. It's just
My
pretty
eyes are on
average
fire.
consumption for me, to be honest.
My eyes are on fire.
You could also, well, you should. I'm not saying you should watch Bulletproof Monk in preparation for that episode. You don't really need to. It's not going to improve your enjoyment of that episode. But you should, for a lot of reasons, but especially get prepared for our book club episode this probably later this month, maybe not until July, but we are going to be doing Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. That was my #1 book of last year. We did Cory's #1 book of last year on the previous book club, which you can check out in our archive. That was Far Center by N.K. Jemisin. So definitely worth a listen.
Great book. Definitely recommend picking up. I've not read Monsters yet, but I'm very excited to get that tomb started.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I always try to read these books at least twice before we do the book club episodes, and I'm excited to give this one a second read, because I think the first time I really enjoyed it, obviously, but I think it's one of those books that will really benefit from a second read. So definitely looking forward to that. Should we?
I'm excited for that too.
Should we jump into this? Because we've got like Cory said, we got a lot of TV to talk about, a lot of comic books, so no use dilly-dallying. That's the first time I've ever said dilly-dallying in my life. I did not like that.
Jesus Christ, we really are out of practice.
I don't think I've ever used that word, that phrase before.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. But okay, let's jump right into it though.
All right, let's do our elevator pitch. Cory, you want to go first? All
yeah,
right.
I'll go first.
I'm putting a minute on the clock as usual. Going to, all right, here we go. Whenever you're ready, Cory, and start.
Okay, so I think this movie is actually on streaming now, but the Nicolas Cage film, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, is one of the films I watched over the last month. It is a surprisingly funny and heartwarming movie. And it's weird to say the best actor in the film was Pedro Pascal, but it's like such a thing. I was like, it's like the perfect. I was about to say romance film, but it's very much like the perfect bromance film of just seeing these two people just kind of enjoy each other's company, but also just a lot of references and a lot of love for people like myself who kind of watch a lot of those bad Nicolas Cage movies, and it's a lot of fun based off of that. if my final pitch for this would be, if you ever want to see Nicolas Cage make out with the de-aged version of himself, I recommend you go watch this movie. I don't even need a minute.
That can't be your final pitch for the movie.
Yeah, no, it will be.
I saw a variable weight.
I think what did he say? Is like Nick Cage smooches good? I think that's what the line was afterwards, but I can't remember.
It's such a weird movie.
Such a weird movie, but it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I will say, I think it could have been the perfect movie if they'd cut like 20 minutes out of it. But I think that's the plight of the modern comedy in general. I find modern comedies are just usually too much.
But I wonder if that, like, I'm assuming you mean the third act?
Not even just like a specific act, just like
just a little bit of the
I don't want to spoil much. There's a lot of stuff going on in the movie that I don't know adds to the.
But I will say, I think the scene, not a lot of spoilers because it's in the trailer, but the scene of Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal tripping off, and just like it's one of my favorite scenes of all time.
Yeah, that's a great.
I could watch an entire movie of those two just tripping balls. I'm cool with that.
I know this is blasphemy because he is a legend. I'm not sure, and I think actually, in a lot of ways, he's the only person that could have made this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure Nicolas Cage was the best part of this movie. Not even like a good part. No,
I just said that.
No, Pedro Pascal. I thought he. I don't know.
I like Nicolas Cage, so I liked him a lot in this movie.
I like Nicolas Cage in theory, and then every time I watch a Nicolas Cage movie, I'm like, is this guy on?
But it's so much. But they're always fun though. That's the problem with it. He's like that pinnacle like bad fun movie though. Like when we watched Con Air, it was like this movie's not a good movie, and his accent was absolutely abysmal. But was it a fun movie? Absolutely.
Did you watch the 2021 movie Pig?
No, I have not.
So Pig is like Mandy for me in that.
Okay.
It is very highly reviewed by critics, and the audience love it. Like, everyone loves Pig. And then I watch Pig, and I'm like, this movie is horrible. I hate every second of it. Why does anybody like it? And that's the Nicolas Cage experience for me in a nutshell, basically.
That's very fair.
Pig director is directing, I think it's a Quiet Place spin-off. His next movie is called A Quiet Place Day One. So it's either a prequel or a spin-off. It's one that I guess it's a prequel. John Krasinski is not doing. So
is he not going to be in it? This isn't the time to be looking this up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I know is that this is his first movie. The guy who did Michael Sarnowski did Pig last year, and it's and his next movie that was his first movie. His next movie is whatever this is going to be.
Prequel, I guess it's one of those things where you could just get Nicolas Cage to sign on to anything. So
well, that's the thing is. The movie is like very in on the joke, but it's still unclear to me if Nicolas Cage is in on the joke. It's just like Nicolas Cage will do anything and everything, and there's a lot of jokes about that in the movie. But I'm unclear if they're at the expense of Cage or if he's laughing at himself.
I'm hoping that he's laughing at himself.
I'm very much hoping that he's laughing at himself too, but you know, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Let's talk about a very different movie, though, Che.
Yeah. So, as Cory said, I'm going to put it on our clock for myself, also pitching a movie. And, like Cory said, a very different movie. This is the first horror movie I've seen in theaters in years. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw it. I don't usually like going to see horror movies in theaters because I think the audience can really ruin your experience. Because if you get the wrong audience, it's just like, awful. Men was the perfect movie-going experience because everyone in the theater reacted to all the insanity at the exact right time in the exact right way. And this movie, I've seen a lot of movies over the last month since we recorded. This is the one that I keep thinking about because it's not perfect. Much like a lot of Alex Garland movies, not Devs, which I think is perfect, but like a lot of Alex Garland movies, it's pretty flawed in a lot of ways. But I think the flaws are what make it even more interesting because the movie is in a lot of ways in conversation with itself, and the movie is about these flawed characters and this flawed society we live in, and the fact that the movie isn't perfect, at least to me, makes it even more interesting. I think most people who are listening to this have either heard of Men and decided if they're going to see it or not, because I will say, I'm not really necessarily recommending you go see this movie. It's a rough watch, especially I think if you're a woman that has experienced abuse. This is not a movie that will be like a lot of fun for you to go see.
The trailer doesn't look like a lot of fun.
I still actually I meant to go back and rewatch the trailer because I'm interested to see how this movie was pitched. I obviously didn't watch the trailer before going in.
Horrifying. That's how it was pitched. It's haunting.
It's actually not, as far as like horror movies go, and I'm actually going to see the second horror movie I've ever seen in theaters, or seen in theaters in the last couple of years tomorrow, Crimes of the Future.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely not for me. I'm not. I don't fuck with body horror, man.
No, me neither. But his
fuck Cronenberg, man. I don't fuck with that.
His movie last year.
Chad, I've never noped out of a trailer as quickly as I noped out of that trailer. Honestly,
is it rough? I haven't watched it.
It don't look good. Don't look fun.
His movie.
You report back to me on that one.
His movie from 2 years ago, Possessor, was quite good, but it also wasn't horror strictly. It's more thriller action. This is his first like horror movie since I think The Fly, right? Which is in the 90s.
So. Something like that, yeah. Which also, fuck no.
Yeah, I don't like body horror either, but it's hard to argue with that cast. I mean,
fuck all that. Nah, man, I'm arguing against it, man. Nah, fuck you, man. Fuck off. Fuck
Viggo Mortensen.
Text me afterwards. I want you to text me afterwards, and I just want to just...
I'm sure I'm gonna hate it. I don't...
Oh, you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's fine, though. Corey, I saw Morbius in theaters before it was cool to see Morbius in theaters.
They fucking brought it back. That
I
pisses
know.
me off, so...
You know what's even funnier, though?
Money.
Yeah, nobody went to go see it. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna make some money on like meme tickets." Because of memes, and they made $0. It's even funnier that they made no money the second time around.
It's one of those things. I didn't know it was a meme, and then I just started seeing them pop out of nowhere. I'm like, I don't get it, but at the same time, it's really stupid.
I think it's my favorite movie meme in a really long time. Like people saying Morbius made $1 trillion.
That's very funny. My favorite part of the movie is when he said it's Morbin time, and then I was like, that's stupid as hell, but I wish it was in. I saw it coming. Like, does he actually say that? They were like, no, of course not.
Even Sony isn't that stupid.
How amazing would it be?
It would be incredible. I have to say the best part of the like Morbius meme experience was when Tyrese fell for the fake news article that like Martin Scorsese said, like he didn't actually say it, but they had a quote. He was like, "Wow, I normally hate superhero movies, but Morbius is one of the greatest pieces of cinema ever." And Tyrese like retweeted it or something because I guess he's the dumbest man on planet Earth. It's just.
Sorry, I was just kind of morbid curiosity because I sometimes go read Wikipedia articles if sorry guys, I think my levels are ridiculous right now, so if I'm blowing up your ears, I really apologize.
We'll try to fix it in post.
I just toned it down a bit. God damn. I'm gonna fix this in the break. Sorry. Che, please continue.
I don't really have anything else to say about Morbius, to be honest with you. We can move on.
I was just reading the Wikipedia page for Crimes of the Future because I'm not going to see the movie, and I'm like, oh, Che, I read the last line of the film. You're going to have a time. I hope you're excited.
Corey's trying to scare me off from seeing this movie, which I half want to see and half don't want to see.
But. I feel bad for you. This isn't me, like... I just feel... Good God. Jesus Christ.
Maybe I'll wait until it's at home so that I can like
fast forward,
bail out if I need to. Because I won't leave a movie theater. I don't care how bad a movie is or like how little I'm enjoying it. I won't leave a movie theater. No shit. I tried to leave Free Guy, but you know how that turned out. It's just so funny to me. You hate Free Guy, I think, more than anybody else hates anything in the world. And
that might
I don't
true,
love
honestly.
Free Guy, but I was like, Free Guy's fine. I don't. And it was even funnier because while you were texting me like basically nonstop about how much you hated Free Guy, I was in California with my family, and they don't go to movies a lot. And like one of the movies they'd seen recently, because Free Guy had come out like a week before I got there, was Free Guy, and they were all talking about how much they loved Free Guy. And anytime somebody asks for a movie recommendation, they go, "See Free Guy, it's great." And I just kept laughing because you despised it.
Sucked. It's such a bad movie, man.
Is Free Guy genuinely? Is it worse than Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Okay.
I
didn't want to kill myself during Sonic the Hedgehog. I at least enjoyed myself during Sonic the Hedgehog. I wanted to fucking kill myself. I got day drunk on purpose watching Free Guy because I just couldn't make it through. Couldn't make it through.
It is in a lot of ways the stuff that I really hate about movies, but
The last scene when they're staring at each other for like 30 seconds, like from across the street, I was hoping someone was just gonna get hit with a fucking car. And it's like when it finally got together, I'm like, are you serious? This is what we built up to. This stupid shit. I'm
80%
sorry.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
What? What guy? What?
It's got 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's just really funny.
From the critics?
Yeah. 94 from the
sucks.
audience.
That fucking, no fucking way.
I think that's higher than Doctor Strange by like 20%.
That fucking sucks so fucking much.
Not quite 20%. Doctor Strange is 74.
Everyone's fucking high on this. What the hell is going on?
Should we talk about Miss Marvel?
I'm mad about this. Yes, let's talk about it.
Well, let's harness that rage and talk about something that's I think genuinely like really good.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So
when I first started,
I was surprised this came out.
Yeah, I knew it was coming out, but I didn't expect it to come out until after Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's been the Disney model for a while. Is like let one show end, give it like a couple weeks, and then the other one goes. I don't think at any point, even for Marvel and Disney shows, they didn't have a big one running at the same time.
No, I think this is literally the first one. So I guess maybe this is Disney saying like, oh, we have more than one show now. You should come to our streaming service now. Because it is weird that they have a full-ass streaming service and only really putting out one new thing.
I mean, I've said it before. If I wasn't an addict and had a problem, I would be more likely to cancel Netflix before Disney Plus. Because the thing is, appointment viewing is just more valuable, and Disney shows, whether or not you love them or not, is like still appointment viewing, while Netflix shows, other than Stranger Things, which we will be talking about later in the episode, nothing feels important anymore.
62% on Metacritic. This is insane.
I'll tell you, Corey, you're the only person I know. Besides, like, there are people who hate, like, the people who like hate superhero movies and like hate all that stuff. Also hate Free Guy because it's like a corporate. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, last time about Free Guy, we could have a long Free Guy conversation one day.
Free Guy's basically a better Space Jam, and that's still not a compliment.
Yeah, but it is a better Space Jam, and that's important.
It is a better Space Jam. But let's talk about something. Let's talk about something actually good. First episode of Miss Marvel just dropped today of our recording on Disney Plus. I think I started. I'm like, Che's not gonna like this show. But as it went on, I was like,
spoilers. It's my favorite show that we're talking about today. Yeah, and it's actually not that close.
That's interesting. But I was as the episode went on, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, this is well directed and a lot of creative choices that they made. A lot of the fun camera angles. That single shot when they're on the bicycles and it's just like drawings in the backgrounds on the building. I'm like, that's fucking cool as hell.
Well, I knew we were in for a really well-crafted show at the very least from the opening montage, not montage, but the opening sequence where we're seeing her like YouTube video that she's creating, and I think you were supposed to assume that that's what we're supposed to have seen is like her making all that stuff with like stop motion and the cutouts and everything. I would love to know if that was actually practically made or not, or if it's probably not. Knowing Disney, they just
I don't actually know either.
The CGI.
They probably just did some CGI or something like that, but it still was a very cool way. I mean, this is like, I'm not trying to say it's a ripoff or anything like that, but this is like basically the same way the animated show that I really like, Mitchell's vs. the Machines, start. Because that's how we get the introduction of that character. Like, she's like making like a very creative video as a way to like kind of do exposition for things. But I think that's such a really fun way just to kind of immediately get into the meat of what this character is. And I mean, like, I really ended up liking this actress by the end, and like I really liked her character by the end too. They just did a very good job of making her very charming and just really, really quickly. I was almost immediately on board with it.
Yeah, Iman Vellani, who plays Kamala Khan or Miss Marvel, is fantastic. Which after the Doctor Strange debacle, I was a bit worried, I have to say, but she's much better. She is
a better actress, but we're not going to slam children actors today, Che.
We're not. It's okay. It's okay to slam children actors. They're in movies. They're not above criticism.
Oh my God. Let's not be that podcast, okay? Why am I level so high?
I'm not insulting her as a person. I just think
I know. Let's just not be that podcast. Okay, my God, Jesus Christ. Oh man, Che, talk about the show.
Well, I think the thing that's really exciting about the show, and it's we're getting more of this recently, is it's just a look into a culture that Disney has, not just Disney, but the like mainstream media has ignored for like a while, and I think it's like a really great representation of it. And this reminds me a lot of admittedly a much better show, but I'll use this opportunity to plug it. We Are Lady Parts from last year, which was fantastic, and is about a group of young Muslim women in the UK, and their struggle with like growing up as a young teenager in Western society and their life in a sort of traditional Muslim family. We see this. We also see this with Rami, but it's much different. It's, young. It's an older man, and that show's mostly about what it's like dating as a Muslim man. But I think the thing that's really great about the show so far, we don't really get a lot of introduction to her character as Miss Marvel yet. We just get a tease of it at the end. But I think the familial and the relationship dynamics in the show is what's most exciting to me thus far. And I think it's done really well. And the reason it's done really well is because they got a woman who is, of Muslim descent to do it. Like, it just seems very simple, but we weren't doing that until very recently. And Bisha Ali has, she did some writing on Loki, so she's like cut her teeth in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She knows what she's doing, and I think the show's really working so far.
And I think that's what actually made the Miss Marvel comic work as well, because G. Willow Wilson, who's also Muslim, wrote that comic, and it was a very it kept itself in this. If anything, I think it was probably the best like young adult kind of like spiritual successor to that like Spider-Man Peter Parker dynamic, but told through such like an interesting and authentic lens. That's the reason she has a fucking TV show now, because that book gripped so many people where it, to a target audience, which is as polar opposite from this as possible. But yeah, I think that's what I've liked so far about this. It's just like how it felt very authentic, and it felt like a lot of fun. I liked like as I said before, I liked all the characters. I love her relationship with her parents. Even I thought the CGI and superpowers was I thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, I think that scene.
Of course, there's commercialized the Marvel superheroes, and also there's so much Ant-Man stuff. I'm like, is he getting residuals from this shit? I hope so.
This is not the first time that's been introduced to the MCU. Would there be an Avenger Con?
I feel like there would be. I mean, I feel like there would be, because I don't know. I mean, especially if they're super fucking heroes and they've saved the world, I'm assuming there would be like celebrations about them. And they were, there's Comic-Con already.
But it's just hard to imagine. Like, we don't have like CopCon where they like celebrate hero.
Well, of course not. Of course not.
I don't know. It's not that much. They're like real people flying around.
There's a bit of a difference. I don't know.
There is a bit of a difference. Yes.
It's rule of cool, first of all.
I just think that would be really funny to imagine is like Justice League Con and like all the kids idolizing psychopathic Batman.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I mean, like in the comics though, they do like people can go visit like the Hall of Justice is, God, I'm a fucking nerd. The Hall of Justice is like a museum, basically. Yeah. So like the regular people, which makes no sense to me because bad guys always attack it. So I'm like, why would you ever want to go visit this fucking museum? Because bad guys are always fucking attacking it.
There's a lot of stuff. Like, it is also weird how much information people know about. Kamala Khan, who at the beginning of the show is just a girl in high school, knows like every minute detail about the battle with Thanos, like in the middle of nowhere.
I was really wondering that as well. It was like, did someone like film that shit? Like,
well, it's not the first. We have in the MCU seen like random characters who know exactly what happened before. This is not. It is like apparently common knowledge how that exact fight went down,
which is pretty wild. But
yeah, isn't there an argument?
Do you think like someone like? No, please continue. I'm wondering
was there an argument in Doctor Strange about that one scene with the hammer? Am I misremembering that?
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that for sure, but apparently people just know for the fact that Doctor Strange was the one that Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, when
he
the
made
guy
that
comes
decision.
at the funeral, it's like he made the decision.
I'm like,
oh,
it's like,
so you got to choose for all of us. It's like, how the fuck would you even know that?
was there like some kind of like weird like public like maybe there was like some kind of like public entirely that's a TV show I want to see, the fucking Thanos hearings. I want to hear about the complete information Freedom of Information Act of what happened in New York, that like middle of nowhere New York.
It would be interesting television if made by any other company besides Marvel. I think the problem is that
true.
like Marvel is not prepared to make an interesting courtroom drama, and that's what you'd have to have.
I want the West Wing.
It would have to get really dark too.
I would want the West Wing, but for Marvel, the Marvel legal system. Throw in Daredevil and She-Hulk. There we go. You're welcome, Marvel. Call me.
Soon we're gonna have
She-Hulk.
When's the She-Hulk show coming out?
I'm not
It's
sure.
probably
There's
gonna
no
drop like
trailer.
next week now.
Yeah, probably fucking. Who fucking knows? I think it is probably next in the pipeline because I actually didn't watch the trailer. I just saw people saying how bad the CGI is. I'm like, CGI will always get better. Yeah,
It's also the Marvel CGI is like notoriously
wonky.
not great, and I never really care.
I thought the CGI that they did for her powers actually looked pretty good. It didn't nothing really seemed wonky to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, just to talk about that scene, nobody seemed afraid at all that she had obviously superpowers. Nobody was worried.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I was the first. I'm like, oh, maybe people thought it was like a practical, like it was like kind of some weird like effect, and then it's like, oh no, she shot that thing, and y'all were like,
even if it was a practical effect, it clearly can hit things. So I'd be running.
Yeah,
like this
as
little
soon
girl
as
with
it
a
hit
glove
something,
that
I'm like,
shoots shit.
She doesn't seem to be very much in control of it either. So
Yeah, I'd have been out.
I am excited to see another ancestral plane though. That one little quick when she like flew, like she like fell backwards into another like I'm like yes, more afterlife in Marvel apparently. I like how every culture has their own like afterlife. It kind of rocks, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, not they're gonna do it yet because that would be the earliest crossover ever, but very, very ripe for a crossover with Moon Knight. This
Black Panther as well.
Universe. Yeah.
I think they do reference like the Black Panther like afterlife area in Moon Knight. Two very different characters in Moon. It's really funny though, kind of like the juxtaposition between like your most previous character was Moon Knight, which was a lot of murder happened in that show, and then it's like this is this nice little Jersey City. I didn't mean to do that. High school girl having a fine time.
It is. I mean, you touched on this before. I think that the reach that this show has demographic wise in comparison to and listen, Marvel shows have transcended race and gender and age for a while, but it's still undeniably more young men watching these shows than young women. I think that's pretty clear, and I think this is the first show in a while, maybe ever. Even the Captain Marvel movie was like looked and felt exactly like all the other Marvel movies, just happened to star a woman, which was great. But like this show feels like a lot of teen dramas, and like I said, I mean, I was watching this and I was like, this has like the exact tone of a lot of shows for women, for young women that I've watched before, and that's a rarity for Marvel. I think it's a really smart move. I mean, it's also
I hope Marvel
a shrewd move money wise, but you can't have one without the other.
I'm kind of hoping Marvel continues this with like, I mean, we've seen how creative they're letting people start to become with like Moon Knight and like, now Miss Marvel as well, which looks very different than, I mean, if it wasn't for all the connections to Marvel, I probably wouldn't have like been like, if there wasn't like, I feel like they could have made this like as a girl getting superpowers, whatever, and it wouldn't have to be connected to Marvel. And it would have looked, and I would have been like, that's fine the way it looks. I wouldn't have been like, this looks like a Marvel show. But I think the first episode, I really enjoyed it. I'm not surprisingly, I was just kind of like, didn't know if it was going to work out because, I mean, the only other teenage character that we've had a movie is Spider-Man Homecoming. And I thought this kind of did have a very, like, they both definitely captured that, teen feeling a lot.
And even just like, I mean, Villani is 19, and I think Tom Holland in the first Spider-Man was 21, 22.
Yeah, I think he was also
doesn't
pretty
sound
young.
like a big difference, but I mean, obviously, the big difference between 19 and 21-year-olds. And he'd been acting for a while. I mean, that was not his first movie.
Yeah, I mean, but she definitely feels like an actual like 16-year-old. I don't know if that but like she feels like that age, and I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, she's also she's the only character the first character we've got in a while that we know when she's going to be back soon, right? We know she's going to be in the Marvels.
Yeah, the Marvels. Yeah, so
yeah,
we know that.
We didn't know for the Eternals or Moon Knight or even really America Chavez, like when we're going to see them next. But so it will be interesting if this show is more in canon than the other ones have felt, at least. I'd be interested to see, especially because there is an end goal for this character pretty soon. I mean, the Marvels is summer next year. It's like a year away, basically.
I believe so. So I guess I got to assume that she's probably also already getting to work on it.
Yeah, end of July of 2023. So
I'm wondering if we're gonna get like a cameo from Brie Larson in this. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if it happened at the very end.
I don't know what Brie Larson's doing. I mean, she looks like she's having a ton of fun, but she's not acting anymore. She's not in anything. She doesn't seem to work. Is she in commercials? What commercials is she doing?
She's in a lot, like car commercials.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know the fucking car. She's just in car commercials. I know that.
She's gonna be in Fast 10, which
is she?
Yeah, apparently. Okay. I'm on her IMDb right now. She's gonna be Fast X. I mean, there was a time, and before she got drafted into the MCU, which I was very excited for. I called it years in advance. I reminded people of that forever. Where I thought she was like the next really exciting actress we had. There's a version of her career where she's Jessie Buckley, because I think she's maybe not as good. I think Jessie Buckley's like maybe the best actor alive right now, but she could have been up there, and it's just weird. Like she just stopped working, and I mean, I guess those Marvel checks really help you do whatever you want, right?
I guess so. It's just like, hey, you know what? I got work coming up. I really don't. If you don't want, I mean, listen, you could just coast off being a commercial actor, honestly. So, yeah, get a couple million from some Marvel films, you know.
She was in Just Mercy for 2 years ago. She was a pretty big part of that movie, but other than that, she's been sort of Marvel or nothing for a while. But either way, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I live with you. I'm excited to see how the show evolves, and I would imagine she's going to make at least some sort of cameo, or we're going to get like old B-roll of her. Somewhere. I
love Kamala's father. I think he's just like has not said many things, but very delightful.
The scene where he runs in with the Hulk costume is
just like great. It's heartbreaking because she's like, no, but
she
it's
does
just
him
like,
so dirty for no reason.
So dirty.
Also, before we move on, would love to point out, I just noticed now, Abil and Bilal directed this movie. The guys who did Bad Boys for Life and will be doing the Batgirl movie. So I think very tonally different than
what?
Yeah.
What? Okay. I knew I recognized their names from something, but okay.
Yeah. Also did a couple episodes of Snowpiercer. Snowfall, not Snowpiercer. Wrong.
Got it.
Yeah, interesting.
All right.
Interesting, because I don't really know what Batgirl's going to be like, but I'd be shocked if it was anything like this.
I mean, it looks like to me an HBO Max movie, because I'm actually kind of interested to see what HBO Max movies are going to look like. Nervously.
I'm sort of out. DC could do whatever they want. I don't care anymore. they just disappointed me constantly for years now.
I'm just broken. And I got to say, guys, did not like the Black Adam trailer. That does not look great.
It doesn't look good?
It doesn't look great.
It's probably still going to be fun, because I don't think The Rock is capable of making like an unfun movie.
I mean, I'm definitely going to see it, but yeah, I was just like, okay, this just kind of seems like generic. He yeeted a guy for like 6 miles away, which was kind of fun to see, but like, that's like The Boys, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it seemed like for a while DC was dead set against making movies that were like Marvel movies. They were like, oh, Marvel's quippy and like humor. We're gonna be dark and brooding, and you're gonna like it. And then they just hot swap. They like Suicide Squad. They saw the dailies for that, and they were like, actually, no, we need more jokes. And then from then on, they've been trying to make Marvel movies forever. And they can't. I mean, there's only one company that can make movies that are. I'm not going to pretend like Marvel is like the peak of cinema, but they're good and enjoyable and really crowded.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why we've been doing this for this many years.
And there's a reason why Kevin Feige is going to have like 7 islands by the time this is over. Is because there probably is only one man on planet Earth that can pull this off. So I mean, DC can keep doing what they're doing. I know it's
just let James basically let James Gunn do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and then you're probably get at least one good property a year.
Yeah, but James Gunn can't direct all of your movies.
No, that's why I said one good property a year, not multiple. I like Shazam. I'm hoping Shazam 2 is good. I have a feeling that'll be fun.
Yeah, fun. I'm more worried about that than I think you are.
I don't know. I think I think it'll be fine. But let's segue to let's go to the other Disney Plus television show that we will discuss, and that is Obi-Wan. I think we're 4 episodes in at the time of this recording. 4 out of 6.
Che is not.
Huh?
I said Corey's 4 episodes in. Che is not.
And first off, I'm just kind of happy that the show exists. It's nice to see Ewan McGregor back again, and I mean, I love more Star Wars stuff. But besides, I think I'm not really enjoying this. No, I'm enjoying it. I just don't think it's really. It's a hard thing when you're kind of in the middle where I'm like, I'm enjoying this, but also there's a lot of things that I'm like, they're weird decisions that happened, like directorially and like writing wise, and I'm like, this is like a weird. What are you guys necessarily going for with these choices? Like, I thought the first episode worked pretty well with a very like somber introduction, getting back to this character. And it was like a lot of that was like pretty like calm and cool, but then as soon as we started getting into the whole like point of the story, it got kind of weird. And I mean, I liked the 3rd episode because of the ending for it. And after watching the 4th episode, I'm like just scratching my head. I'm like, first off, you got 2 more episodes after this, and this episode was only 30 minutes long. There was some. I don't
understand that choice though. This is how they've been doing like the Mandalorian 2. What is the motivation for 30-minute episodes? Because it feels like all you get is really rushed stories. This is not a show. As somebody who feels like the need to be a completionist and watch all TV, I'm happy to find a 30-minute episode of a TV show. But this show definitely needs more shit going on, like more time to invest in these characters. There is, especially in the 2nd episode, because I'm 2.5 in, I was like, oh, the episode's ending, and nothing happened. But there's only like 4 more of these. You can't have an episode where nothing happens. It seems weird to me.
Yeah, it seems weird. I mean, and things definitely did happen in this 4th episode, but like it was short. And like the end of the thing, I'm like, why didn't she just go do this thing? And like, this isn't a big spoiler, but there's like this character, like, because there's a character in like a fighter jet that gets like killed, and the other fighter pilot is like, no, Wade. Like, and like she's like, it's a big focus on this motherfucker named Wade apparently, and it's a hard focus. And then like we get back to the base, she's like, and they're like, how'd the mission go? Where's Wade? And she's like, Wade's gone. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck Wade is. You guys didn't give any introduction to whoever the fuck Wade's supposed to be. I don't care about Wade.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how I've felt about a lot of these Star Wars shows. Is they, and I can never tell. I said this to Corey before we started recording. Is a lot. I think the other 3 shows we're going to talk about are the analogy I use is like they're like heavy metal, where a good heavy metal song and a bad heavy metal song sound exactly the same to me. I have no idea what's good and what's bad. It all sounds bad to me because I don't like it, and I can't tell if this is good Star. So you're telling me this is not good Star Wars because I felt like this is. I'm as
no. I mean, like I think I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying it from a Star Wars perspective, but I don't think I can't say this is like a good show because I think direction-wise and writing-wise, it's not really pulling its weight.
It's weird because it seems it's making. We were just talking about DC. It's making the same sort of mistakes that DC makes, where like they find one thing that works and they beat that thing to death for some reason. The cameos in the show, which were like fun in the most recent trilogy of Star Wars and even in Mandalorian, are ridiculous. Why is Flea in this fucking show? What's going on here? Why is
Wait,
the
Flea.
Safdie? Why is a Safdie brother in this? Flea.
Man,
He's the.
Well, I'm saying Che. I didn't realize either of these people were in this show, so I'm like letting you.
You didn't realize that was Flea in the first. Flea's not even in makeup in the first episode.
No, I didn't recognize him, man.
Oh well. Okay.
Well,
So he's the criminal in the first 2 episodes. Safdie makes more sense. He's like the director of oh my god, the Adam Sandler movie. Uncut Gems.
Yes.
Yeah. Kumail Nanjiani, who I love, is like so out of place in his.
But that's just hiring an actor, though. I feel like for him, that doesn't seem like he's an actor. That doesn't feel as weird.
Is he coming back in the other episodes? It just seems like it was a cameo. Right?
No, I think that's just hiring somebody. I think he's just hiring someone as a guest actor, Che. I don't really think that's a cameo.
Kumail Nanjiani's too famous to be doing a character in
Star Wars.
One Star Wars episode.
It's Star Wars. They want to do.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying.
But the thing is, like, they had the opportunity to do so. But also, O'Shea Jackson was just in the 4th episode, so.
I did see he was cast in this show.
Like, he's not even a real character.
Yeah.
The 4th episode's weird.
Should we have the Moses Ingram conversation? What do they keep calling her, third sister?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, what's there really to say? It's just like the characters. I don't think the characters are very well written. They just kind of made her just like. And I mean, I'm assuming I know where it's going to go with her character. She's probably like a Jedi as a kid who ran away for some reason. But yeah, I think they made.
Why
the
would
mistake.
she hate Obi-Wan so much if that was the case?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't fucking know. And I think what their mistake was just making her solely the bad guy. And I think what would have worked off best if she was continually to work with those other Inquisitors. And I feel like that would have been a much better dynamic if she's like kind of undercutting it to do her own. I mean, she kind of does do that in the first 2 episodes, but I think if they kind of kept that going, that would have been better instead of just being like, oh, she's the only big bad in this series. I mean, obviously Darth Vader, but we know he's not gonna. We know that he's gonna not be beaten in this series. So,
yeah. Although, what a twist that would be.
That'd be really funny. He's like, he's dead. What happened? Like, I don't know.
If Obi-Wan just takes down Darth
just
Vader,
kills him. They just don't explain it. It's just like, oh no, he's dead. What's the actual movie's about? I don't fucking know. He's dead in this one.
And then they release a parallel trilogy of what it would look like if
Star
Darth
Wars
Vader had been killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Star Wars, the Snyder Cut.
Star Wars, the good times. I don't know.
No conflict here.
That's the other thing that's weird about the show, that I don't really understand why we joined the story here. Is it just because of Ewan McGregor's age? Because the thing that seems most interesting to me is the transition between like evil. There's just been a literal coup where the clone troopers killed all of the Jedi, to how many years later is it supposed to be? Like 60 years later, when
I think it's like 5 years. This is like 5 years. This is like 5.
No, what I'm saying the original trilogy. I'm saying in between those, the end of the prequel and the beginning of the original trilogy. That's what I'm saying. We're only 5 years after the prequel. I'm way more interested in what's happening.
Yeah.
Like down the line, right? Because the transition of powers seems more interesting to me.
I think there are other shows that they've made, and I mean, I think they're animated. But I mean, I feel like that might turn people off. But I think there are shows.
I haven't watched any.
Yeah, I think there are shows that do take place like in that small little period. I did watch the first episode of the Bad Batch animated show, and I'm like, yo, this is good. And like after watching Obi-Wan, I'm like, that other thing was a lot better than what I'm watching now. So.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, they're going to keep doing this. It seems like they've decided that Star Wars, at least for the time being, is a television property, and we don't even have a planned Star Wars movie like anywhere down the pipeline, which I think is really interesting.
No.
But I will say, I mean, I know season 1 of The Mandalorian really like caught fire, but it does seem like, at least from my experience, like the word of mouth for these shows is sort of dying out. I don't remember anyone talking about Boba Fett at all. Like, I think we watched the first episode, did a little talk, and then I didn't go back to it again because I quite literally forgot. I forgot it existed.
People only talked about the episodes that were the Mandalorian episodes because those were the best part about the show, which is like, that's not a good thing, where they just, the penultimate episode is just an episode for another television show.
Yeah. I wonder if Jon Favreau sees that, or if it's even the case. I wonder if this is just anecdotal, and maybe these Star Wars shows are still killing it for Disney Plus. I don't know, but I wonder if there is a chance that he sees this and is like, they change their plans, because we have the Ahsoka show coming. That's the next one that's playing down the line. And I mean, I'm excited for that because I love Rosario Dawson and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but I don't know. I didn't know she was going to be in that. Yeah, she's playing right now. She has no name, so I guess it's a secret. But that might just be like a one episode thing. They've been doing that a lot, obviously. I think there's.
I think that might be my favorite period of telling stories in Star Wars, though. At least I think that's a very interesting point in time, because there's so much of just we don't have really answers to a lot. We know a lot of grander scheme shit that had happened because of the Disney sequels, but that fun area in between is a pretty cool sandbox, at least in my mind. And I think that's the one thing, this is a very because people would wanted a bridge between these, but the problem is you're putting it in a very hard spot timeline wise.
Yeah. I'm biased, I know, because my favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One, and just more shit like that would be really interesting to me. Stuff that fills in these gaps of the original trilogy is more interesting to me than expanding on the stories of the let's be honest, the failed attempt that was the prequels. I mean, the thing is, this story is expanding a story that I do not care about. If I have to see Hayden Christensen's fucking face in the distance one more time, I'm going to lose it. My man, he's a terrible actor. I thought we got rid of him.
The thing I like, though, at least Ewan McGregor. That's the only. I think that's my biggest.
He's great, but he's great in everything. We could have had him and not have to deal with all this other stuff.
But I think that's the reason that the show exists, because Ewan McGregor's a good actor. So I think if he was a mediocre actor, this show would not exist.
It's weird because it seemed for a time that his career had been sort of maybe not killed, but had been slowed down by the prequels. He was a hot talent entering the prequels. Trainspotting is a smash hit. Or at least critically, he's massive in it. Moulin Rouge comes out shortly after the first The Phantom Menace, and then after the third movie, he just sort of didn't work in anything significant for a really long time until recently. I think Fargo was the first big. His Fargo season, which is I think the worst Fargo season. Not anything to do with him.
I didn't even finish it.
It's too meta. It's too much going on in that one.
I got a bit bored in that one.
I think anytime you're doing a twin storyline, it's either really good or really bad, and there's not really much in between. So, yeah, I'm excited to have Ewan McGregor back in my life. It's kind of the only reason I've even considered sticking with this show, but we'll see.
I mean, I'll let you.
He will be in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is still just a great sentence.
Well, Che, I'll let you know if it's worth to come back to, and if I feel like I have to say something about it by the end, I feel like I probably at least have a tidbit if I feel like if I didn't like it or not by the very end of the show. It's just looking at it critically and doing this podcast versus looking at it as a fan is very two different brains that I'm doing right now.
I wonder if really truly, I mean, I know you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, but I wonder if generally hardcore Star Wars fans are into the show or not. I'm curious.
I have checked Reddit, and I think it's pretty much a lot of what my criticisms were. I kind of a little bit of the same. I think a lot of people this is fun because of Obi-Wan, but another part is yeah, but this is there's a lot of issues going on with this right now.
I just wish Star Wars would get dark. I'm really annoyed that they're so sick to get dark, because I think when Star Wars gets really dark is when it's most fun. Cause it's fucked. There's multiple genocides on camera. They blow up multiple planets, and they just
a lot of child death.
It's just weird.
There's a lot of child death.
Yeah.
So much child death.
On that happy note, should we take a quick break and then come back and talk about some comic books?
The girl's a problem. Lawman said they keep looking for her. Something about her brain being all special. Important to the Alliance brass. Sooner we dump them two, the better.
Suppose so. Funny how the lawman got out of his room. You haven't tied him up so well and all.
I didn't have nothing to do with that. Anyhow, it all turned out just fine. Buzzard's the only one's gonna find him.
But he did try to make a deal with you, right? How come you didn't turn on me, Jane?
Money wasn't good enough.
What happens when it is?
Well, that'll be an interesting day.
Imagine it will.
And we're back.
Sup?
All right, first up, we have new DC event book. With all the shit we just gave DC, or at least I guess I did. I gave DC about their cinematic universe woes. They continue to be, I think, the best of the big two in these comic book, especially at least the big releases. Marvel still has some, like, I think, less popular releases that I think are really good, but I like this book. I think this book was really fun. This book is really cool. I'm excited for this event. I'm less excited
with
for
DC,
the 35,000 spin-offs we get, but hey. That's kind of.
I think with DC, I think DC does well as like the events. I think more than Marvel. I think DC has like a better, consistent like library of books. Like Marvel has like a good amount, but I just always kind of feel like it's like nowhere near this consistent quality.
I think it might literally just be because like the whole thing about DC is their characters, at least their major like tentpole characters, are all gods, and the fact like when you get them teamed up, it feels really like ends real gravitas in the situation.
Yeah, and it's like even though they have so many events in DC, it's like funny, and I mean it's like one of these things too. Many. There's so many, but like I kind of wanted to check.
Isn't there? There's another event going on right now too, right?
Probably. Don't worry about it. Like, but Joshua Williamson, who's been like a pretty consistently good writer for DC the last couple of years, and if you see his name on any books, I really recommend picking them up. I think he's currently doing, top of my head, I think it's Robin and the Flash. They're both really good runs so far. And I think it's like, because I mean, like the whole, okay, so the concept behind this current event is the Justice League, everyone died. And basically it's like now left over to like the legacy heroes to kind of pick up the slack and kind of just tackle pretty much every supervillain, kind of just gunning for everything. And I mean, we all know they'll be back. That's not like a really
I mean that is the thing with like the opening page of the like memorial scene is really, it's kind of, I think really beautiful in a lot of ways. And then you remember, the fuckers will be back in like 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's like
there's
a really
probably
nice
honestly
speech.
there's like a Superman book like published the same
I'm
week,
sure there's books right now that are still running storylines with these characters still alive. But I think it's like what these events are kind of fun about doing though is just like kind of taking that point in time and then like capitalizing on that. And then like whatever happens, I think it's like more like whatever happens after this. It's like if the ride's fun and then there will be aftermath after this, even though we're gonna probably get back our superheroes. I think that's what kind of makes it worth it. And I think so far, like at least in this first issue, I really enjoyed like a lot of the character dynamics. I'm still not really sold on the whole Jonathan Kent being older thing, but that's more of a Bendis problem. So I feel bad for most of the writers
having
to deal with it.
A lot of fucking Bendis problems going on. You know what I did to myself the other day, unrelated to this? I read the new issue of Pearl that he released with Dark Horse out of morbid curiosity, and it is still as shit as we remember. That
I'm sure
man
it is.
Has lost something. It's crazy. But let's not talk about Bendis. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're cool. You're cool.
You just reminded me that he released another Pearl volume, which is crazy.
What an asshole. But like, yeah, it's like I think so far though in this issue though, like I mean, like I think people should go pick it up. It's like you don't really need too much background information. I mean, I'm not entirely sure why Deathstroke's so pissed off for some reason.
Does Deathstroke need a reason to be pissed off? I guess
I don't know. Deathstroke's just a fucking asshole. I just don't like that character. I don't know.
No, I like Deathstroke as like a second tier villain in a book.
He just hates the Teen Titans so fucking much, and I don't know why. It's just like a weird hard-on he has for them.
I will say he was my least favorite part of the Teen Titans TV show, but in the comics, I've enjoyed him.
But Ron Perlman voiced him, Che.
I mean, I didn't say it was everything. I just think that character that every time there was a Deathstroke episode, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's like, what's going on here? This is.
I think there's a lot really exciting about this book, especially that we finally got. I shouldn't say finally because I don't actually know if she's been in other books, but new Wonder Woman is teaming up with, and her Wonder Woman book has been, I think, my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's been very good. Wonder Girl, actually.
Yeah, it was Wonder Girl.
Yeah, but like I mean, I'm happy to see her pop up again. It's like, oh, this character rocks, and I'm hoping they'll use them more. And I think I read a little bit of Josh Williamson's Reddit AMA yesterday, and he seems like he has a lot like planned out for this. And it's always fun to see a writer genuinely excited to like show everybody else what toys he's been playing with. Yeah. I thought it was a really good, solid first issue. I'm always very hesitant for events, especially things like this, where I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. But I was good with this one. I thought it was a good start.
Yeah. I'll also be remiss if I didn't shout out Daniel Sampier and Alejandro Sanchez before we.
Yeah, their art fucking rocked.
The art is really good in this, and it's like, it's really like I think classic comic book art in a lot of ways, which I think for these sort of stories works really well because it harkens back to the teen books of old. Like I was gonna say like Kingdom Come, but actually Kingdom Come is very distinctive art style.
It's like an Elseworlds thing too. Yeah, it's very much its own thing. But no, it's a very good like mix of like new school and like kind of that whole classic throwback feeling. Yeah. For sure.
I'm sure we'll check back in with this. We won't be reading any of the spinoffs, so don't tweet us about the spinoffs because there's nothing worse in comic books than
let's be honest, guys.
Spinoffs.
I'm probably gonna be reading the spinoffs.
Do you still read the event spinoffs? I did for a while because I was like,
if I'm into the event, I will read the spinoffs. Like I'm kind of like I've been doing this over the span of like the last year, and I've been like reading through the Secret Wars, like spinoffs, and they've all like there's been like half and half where some of them are really good and some of them aren't, but it's like 100 comics deep. So
the last time I even attempted it was the Dark Knights one, but that's because there was a couple Dark Knight spinoffs that just seemed really insane, and they were like remember the one with the red Batman, the Flash Batman who like ran himself to death?
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
and yeah, that was the last time I was like, oh, I just read so many of these and none of them were worth my time at all. But the main storyline was really good, so I was just like, fuck it, let me not ruin this Dark Knights experience by like
reading this like
with nonsense. Yeah.
It's like I mean like pretty much like if the idea is good behind it, good enough behind it, I'll usually read it. But like if it's just like I probably won't check it out.
Yeah, There is, I think the thing that's really exciting, for me at least, that's exciting about this particular book is that we're just getting a lot of characters in a big DC event book that we wouldn't normally get. Like there's like fucking Peacemakers in this book, which I guess we might be seeing more Peacemaker now that he's like one of DC's biggest movie characters.
They put him pretty prominently in when they did a new Suicide Squad around the time the movie came out, and he was like basically he was the main character in that book. But he is very different than a John Cena Peacemaker.
Yes, yeah.
Which is why I'm like,
I think John Cena Peacemaker in this book or in the Suicide Squad book would be odd, just strange. Your boys Booster Gold and Blue Beetle are in this too.
I was honestly super excited about that. Whenever they show up, I'm like, yes, we're back, baby. Hopefully Williamson actually writes them well because they haven't had a good Booster Gold hasn't had a well-written book since like 2008.
God, that Blue and Gold book just should have been so much better.
It should have been so much better. Just such a disappointment. Yeah. That's the book that I wish Jeff Johns was still like with DC, actively to write that book. That's the book that I would love for him to write.
Has he written anything since his departure? I
haven't really Three Jokers. I don't know. I don't know his independent stuff. Actually, I really haven't looked into it. I mean, I think he's doing producing with DC currently. So I'm assuming that might just be taking up a lot of his time, and also that's probably making him a lot more money. Yeah. So
I guess departure's not the right word. It's like stepping down or whatever. Right?
Yeah, he stepped down from the comics side because I think he was like a higher up in the comics. But yeah, just kind of looking. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about Dark Crisis. I'm excited to keep on reading it, and I feel like I'll bring it up again if I think it's worth the discussion.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I blanked because I was like, I'm pretty sure I read something. He wrote fucking Geiger, which I actually really I'm liking.
Oh yeah, Geiger. I got to go back and catch up on that. The first issue was really good.
Yeah. There's a cute dog, which is always just like a cheat code in your comic books to put a cute dog in.
Yeah, I'm looking at his. Yeah, I guess it's just Geiger currently. Everything else he hasn't really touched. Interesting, only book though. He apparently did a Black Hammer spinoff one issue.
Yes, I do remember that. Geiger seems like one of those things that he's been hiding. He's been holding under his hat for a while. He really, although I'm still surprised. I never really know why these pretty celebrated authors and artists feel like they have to go to Image or Dark Horse to why couldn't DC have published this under Black Label?
Well, you don't want that because DC will then hold on to your filming rights. If you go to Image, you have the filming rights still with your book.
I like Geiger. I don't think I'd ever want to watch a Geiger movie.
But I'm saying though, if you want,
I guess that's fair enough. Yeah.
Which is why I was confused. The Nice House on the Lake was
Black
Vertigo.
Label.
Yeah, but because like I mean I don't think he's not like he does he have a DC exclusive? I don't know.
No shot, right? Because then doesn't he have an Image book now?
That's what I'm thinking, right? James, this is talking about James Tynion the Fourth.
Yeah, the Closet, which we cut for time.
And also Something is Killing the Children with Boom Studios.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't have an exclusivity.
They must have just offered him a shit ton of money to do that one.
Yeah, this is the minute details that I think most of our listeners don't give a shit about. So let's move on to.
I care about this.
We care about this, but we can talk about this in our free time.
That's very fair.
We will, ladies and gentlemen. We do talk about this shit in our free time because we're fucking losers. Next up on the list is 5th issue of. It's just so crazy to me. This book started at the beginning of the pandemic, and we're only 5 issues in. It was like this bastion in the break that all the publishers made because they were trying to support comic book shops, and when they couldn't open, they'd stop selling comic books. There was just no comic books for a while, and Panel Syndicate popped up, and they were a digital only publisher, and Friday dropped, and I was like, June 2020, and now 5 issues later, 2 years later, and this book still is really good, and I just hate that it takes forever for fucking Brubaker to put these fucking books out.
Wait, how many years did you say it was?
This was
2?
June 2020 is when this started.
Jesus.
So we're coming.
Wow.
I think probably a little over 2 years actually since the first issue.
I cannot wait for this book to be collected because this is it's very frustrating. It's
well,
really
the other thing is,
book.
so the first let me bring it up right here for the YouTube viewers, which also plugging the YouTube, which I forgot to do at the top like an idiot. If you're listening to this and you want to see our beautiful faces, you can check out our YouTube channel. This is what the first volume looks like. Look at how thin this bitch is, and it's tiny. It's like it's like half the size of a regular fucking book.
I didn't actually know. I didn't actually know there was like a physical copy. Jesus.
Yeah,
and the Weatherman's not even that big.
3 issues, I think. Yeah, no, the Weatherman is. I just picked up a random standard size book. I think it's the first 3 issues. The thing is, it's hard to be annoyed at this book because it is so fucking fun and it's so good, and there's nothing else like this, which is what we talked about. Although there wasn't anything like this. I think Dead Dog's Bite. I actually prefer to this. Don't tell Tyler Boss because he's enemy of the podcast, though. Nobody tell him that we like his writing. Okay.
That jerk.
Kidding, Tyler. If you ever want to come on the podcast, you're always welcome. But yeah, so Corey, you want to talk about this 5th issue of Friday?
Yeah, I mean, we're finally kind of getting into the more of the meat of like what this mystery is going to be. Because I think the
finally is a very good word for it.
Yeah. Because I mean, the first 3 issues was more like somebody dealing with the grief of this and kind of like thinking there's something weird going on. And I think now we're kind of like finally getting the ball rolling with it's like, oh, there's actually this mystery that we need to uncover, and it's kind of like following this middle ground on is it supernatural, is it just like little corrupt people, and we still don't have all the answers yet. But I am enjoying this a lot.
I would love to know. They rarely ever tell you stuff like this, but I would love to know if Brubaker and Martine have an end insight for this, or if they're sort of playing this character by ear, because I think Friday, even after this mystery resolves in 2028 or whenever we get to the end of this, I would love to hang around with this character in this world that he's built, because like you were saying, up until this point, we're basically 4 issues since the death of what I thought was going to be the second main character of this book at the end of the first issue. And it feels like we're just getting into the mystery itself, because he spent so much time, and I think vitally so, building up these characters in this world that Friday lives in. And I think it's been, like I said, it's been well worth the wait till we get here, because I don't think a mysteries like this really work unless you're invested in this town or these people or this storyline, right?
Yeah, and if Friday was a bad character, we would not be enjoying this.
Yeah. There's a reason there's like 4,000 Boxcar Kids books, because those kids are fun to hang out with. So.
Yeah, no, it's just like a fun, like the town is so vibrant and it's fun. It's just like, it's good. It's very good. And I think this is the first issue someone acknowledged that her mother is a lesbian. And then she's still like, oh no, they're going to kill my mom and aunt something. And I'm like, you could just, okay, sure, she's your aunt. Okay, whatever floats your boat. Helps you get through the day.
This is supposed to be like the 50s, right? It's how I read it, is because Characters use
I
like
think it's-
payphones and shit.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like. Yeah, I think it was to me. I mean, I kind of always just associate it's the '70s because of Scooby Doo, but I think it's like between. Like,
Maybe the '70s would work too.
Yeah, I feel like maybe
It's
one of those
the
kind
cars
of like,
look kind of old. Maybe they're just like 70s.
maybe
60s,
there's kind of
70s
maybe they're keeping it timeless on purpose or timeless to an extent.
Yeah. We talked
but-
about it a little bit in that I think stories kind of have to be timeless now, unless your story is quite literally about social media and the way it affects the world, in the way that Miss Marvel was in a lot of ways, where we see her interact with YouTube and like there's a lot of comments about her friends getting too famous for them because they have 100,000 followers. Unless
Which
you're
is
gonna
insane
interact
for
with it,
and also insane for a high schooler. Like, what the fuck's going on?
I don't know. I think
there?
that's how like TikTok is now, right? Isn't there like
I-
13-year-olds on TikTok
Man,
with millions of followers?
I don't fucking understand that shit, man. Come on, don't look at me.
But I think if you're not going to like directly engage with that stuff, you sort of have to suspend your story from time so that it works, or just go back in time so you don't have to think about it at all. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think the I don't know. I think the mystery is in a lot of ways my least, not least favorite. That's a negative twist on it. I'm not sure if I give a shit yet. Does that make sense? I'm interested. I want to know because we get that weird, incredible shot of the that like full page at the end of issue 3, I think, where we see this like vision she's having. It seems like maybe a hallucination. I would love for that to be explained, but other than that, like the death of her friend, shockingly, is not of like great interest to me. I don't think.
I agree with you. I don't really think I like didn't really get like a lot of like from it, you know.
Yeah.
But I think like it'll be one of those things. I think this is gonna be one of those books that's gonna read really well, like in short sittings. I think, like consistently back to
if we
back.
ever get to the end of it.
This is what I mean. That's why like, whenever you bring it up to me, I'm like, no, Che, why'd you remind me? I want to forget that it exists and just find out about it 5 years down the line.
Yeah. So the
When it's
way
still
the
going.
way I consume comic books is I basically have like a folder bookmarked where I open all the comic book publishers at like every like Tuesday or Wednesday to make sure I know what's coming out so I can grab the stuff I need. And Panel Syndicate just happens to be one of the tabs that gets opened up. And because they only release like one book every month or two, I'm just constantly reminded that the stuff I really love from them is not coming out. Like Friday, there's 5 issues of it. The oh my god, what's the book about the 2 assassins?
I'm not sure if I'm reading that one, but Black Hand Iron Hand is also pretty slow to come out. And I
No,
really
we
like
were reading
that book as
Bad
well.
Karma.
Bad Karma. Is Bad Karma done?
It's 5. They're still going 5 issues deep
Oh.
after 2 years. So
Okay. All right. Never mind. God damn
yeah,
it.
I don't know. I love the book, and I realize Ed Brubaker is out here like cooking. Like he's very prolific. He's slightly behind Jeff Lemire with like the amount of books he releases in a year, so it's hard to be upset with him, especially because they're all fire. Like I'm just finally catching up on all of the Reckless books that I hadn't finished yet. That series is so good. I mean, it's just like such a good writer. Him and Sean Phillips are such a great team. And I think the fact that he has like a great partnership with guys like Sean Phillips and Marcos Martin, and he writes these very different style books with them, is really fascinating to me. And I love writers like that have all these styles that they can really explore, but also feel connected in a way. Like all his stuff really reminds me of like Criminal and his Immortal Iron Fist run, but is also all very different.
I love the Immortal.
I'm a
Iron Fist
Brubaker
run.
stan, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Kill or Be Killed. Is that the one I don't like?
Yeah.
His Captain America run is one of my favorite comics of all time. The Winter Soldier.
I don't think I've ever
story.
actually read that.
You should read that one. It's better than the fucking movie. It's really, really good.
Just saying something because the movie still top 10 Marvel? We're gonna have to do a Marvel list soon.
I think it still is. I think we should do that after we end the year out. I think what's the last one we're getting this year? Black Panther.
Is there any way that movie's coming out this year? I mean, they keep
I
telling
think
us
I think it's supposed to come out in August. I mean, we didn't get a trailer for Thor until like last month, so I think they're just kind of more like, you're gonna see this shit. So we're gonna take our time. So you're gonna see this shit. Don't worry about it.
I sort of would love for them to. It's November for Black Panther 2, November 11th. I would love for them to pull. Like Marvel is the only company that can really do it, and they just do no trailer. They just release like a still, like do like a little Super Bowl ad, where it's just a still of the title and the date it comes out, and then just say "fuck you, you're coming."
I think they could do that.
Don't
and
say
just
that part.
No, but I think they should do that. And just one quick, be like, one line, shot, and then like done. That's it. You don't need anything more than a teaser. Nothing else more. People like lost their mind when The Dark Knight got a teaser and it was just like the bat symbol, and then the Joker's laughing. That's all it fucking was.
I hate this world we live in where there's like trailers for trailers now. It makes me sick.
I knew that they were making I knew that the Black Adam trailer was coming out for 10 days because they kept tweeting about it. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. It comes out when it comes out.
I would love for some like accounting firm to run the numbers on whether or not this like hype train that leads up to trailers and the trailer bullshit has anything to do with ticket sales. And like if it affects your success of your movie even a little bit, I wonder. Because it doesn't feel like it does, but maybe it's just because I don't participate in this trailer culture at all, so I'm like so far on the outside looking in. That's hard for me to say. But as usual, we are incredibly over on time, so should we quickly move on to The Boys and reevaluate our lives after we knock that out?
I think we should. So I think, I mean, I've only seen the first 2 episodes of the 3rd season of The Boys. Che, did you see all 3?
I have watched all 3.
Okay.
And listeners of the podcast will know I am not a The Boys guy. I would love for you, Corey, to tell me what you're liking about this season, because I don't want to be the guy on the podcast that hates everything, but I kind of hate this.
I don't hate this. So far, I think I'm 2 episodes in right now, but I don't hate it so far. I gotta say, there's a lot of weird shit in it though so far.
That's putting it lightly.
The first episode was the first 10 minutes of the episode. I feel like someone should have just warned me before I got into that. So Che, shame on you. Never, like, it's one of those things like
I don't think I should have to warn you about The Boys though, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things I sincerely never thought I would see it. Like I sincerely, my brain didn't even think about that being a possibility that I will ever have to experience. But I think like I think The Boys is in a weird spot right now. To the point where I don't think they really want to end it anytime soon. But there's a certain like breaking point that you have to do something with Homelander, and I think in the 2nd episode they kind of started with that.
I just don't really get why shows like this, and I think you're right. I think the reason that the plot, especially in this show, has seemed like it really stagnated is because they are realizing they have to get to an endpoint for this character, but don't want to because they want to continue the show for 6-7 seasons or whatever the plan is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really know why shows like this, and we've seen this before with like other shows that have like Modern Family and The Big Bang Theory went on for 13 seasons and ran out of shit to talk about at season 3, is why not just kill off a character like this? Like, I'm not advocating for getting rid of Anthony Starr. I think Anthony Starr is actually fantastic on this show.
He's
the actor
great.
who plays Homelander.
But it's just like after a certain point, like, what do you do with an evil Superman? Because at some point he's just going to go on a fucking murder spree, and then we just got to deal with that.
And we get a hint of that. Not even a hint. He basically says he threatens Starfire with the fact that he could just destroy everything in the world, and like he has all the power because he can take out the grid and the military system and all that stuff. He's very aware of like his power, and he's evil.
A psychopath. He's very evil.
But I think the thing is, like, I just don't know if is there an interesting story to be told with a character like that? Because he is in a lot of ways like the main character of the show, which is we keep going back to his
very weird
internal monologue, which I don't care about.
But I think in the same way though, he's like kind of. I think I still find him fun to watch.
Yeah.
To a capacity, because it's just like kind of fun. Like, this guy's just a fucking asshole, and it's just kind of like just seeing him go in his day-to-day life with just bordering that whole like I'm gonna lose my mind and kill everybody kind of thing. I found the A Train like trying to be like find my roots thing I thought that was pretty fucking funny to say. I think that was a pretty funny like scene of just.
It's weirdly meta because Jesse T. Usher is like a clown, like as a human being in real life. So like him playing a clown in a TV show, the only difference between him and A Train is that A Train's faster. I thought really personally really funny.
Is it bad that I keep laughing at Homelander just fat shaming him for no fucking reason? It's like unnecessary that he's like
I can see your girdle, you fat fuck, is a hilarious
just so funny, but it's just like he's like drinking a milkshake. What are you doing? It's like just drinking a milkshake. He just like bullies him because he's just an asshole.
I mean, that's the other thing with the show is, and I love shows about horrible human beings.
This is also like the show. I think maybe
Mad Men is my favorite show of all time. There's no good people in this show.
No, there's not. And I think the show itself is just like a general pissing contest between like who has the most power. I think that just might be what the show is. A bunch of power obsessed assholes, basically. And even like
it's not even just like it's that, and like it's like a contest to see who can be like who can do the worst thing to somebody. Bringing back the Deep is unnecessary. Why is he doing it? It doesn't even make any sense. It's just evil. Which I guess is the point of Homelander's characters. He's just evil for evil's sake. But yeah. I just don't like there's a reason why you don't go back to Darth Vader's house in the original Star Wars trilogy. It's like evil for evil's sake isn't interesting to stay with as far as like a story is concerned.
Agreed.
But we keep hanging out with Homelander for some reason. The scene where he goes and visits Stormfront in her hospital bed.
That was one of the darker. But it's like one of those scenes I'm like, this is so fucked up. Grim. I just started laughing because I'm like, this is just horrible. She's a Nazi, so it's fine. But like, it's horrible at the same time.
Well, it's horrible because she's a Nazi, but it's just horrible because they're both so awful. The thing I feel about the boys, and I was
surprised she was still alive, honestly.
Yeah. The boys to me is this is going to be I think a very niche reference. There is this YouTube channel called Epicurious, which does this YouTube series where they give a chef and a home cook who's not very good at cooking like the same recipe, and it's like, oh, go make like a steak dinner, and then they have them swap recipes. So the chef gets like this $20 steak dinner meal, and the home cook gets like a $500 ingredient list, and they go and make the steak dinner. And The Boys is like if you gave a home cook a bunch of really great ingredients. I think this show is a disparate collection of really cool ideas and really good actors. I actually, like I said, I love Anthony Starr. I think Jack Quaid is really good. Even Erin Moriarty has her moments. Although her character is like so bland and pointless that it's hard to connect with her.
Her character arc is like over at this point. I just get really annoyed at like unnecessarily forced relationship drama. That's like, man, listen, this ain't really affecting the plot. Just shut up. Y'all can just date and be like normal people.
And it's not her fault. I think actually, like I said, I think Moriarty's good, but yeah, they've gutted Starfire's character. I just don't know if this.
It's not Starfire. I don't remember her name shape, but Starfire is a DC character, and I can't.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Starlight. It's right. Starlight.
Starlight. Yeah. Close enough. Whatever.
It's close enough. You're close enough. I'm just saying. I just gotta at one point I have to correct.
No, you're right. Yeah. Good catch. Yeah, I just think this show has like a lot of really good ideas and really good stuff going on. And then when it comes, for me at least, I know people love this show. I'm not saying this is like an objectively bad show. When it all comes together, I just don't think it clicks for me.
I think it just has its moments for me. I think with the show, but I don't know. I mean, there was parts in each episode that I enjoyed, but like a lot of other parts, I'm like, I don't really get what we're doing just yet. And I think it's been so long since like I mean, this is also a problem with like not a problem with Stranger Things, but like another like it's just because of timeline wise, it's just like man, I forgot about half this shit. Honestly, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about right now. So
yeah, there's been like, especially over the last year because of the delays for all these shows with the pandemic and stuff, you've had to like go back and rewatch a lot of stuff to really continue with the storyline, and I just wasn't prepared to rewatch 2 seasons of The Boys to be invested in the 3rd season.
I get that.
I honestly genuinely forgot that the season ends with Victoria like blowing up people's heads. Like I just completely forgot about that until it comes up again in this season. So,
I did remember that, but I'm like, they keep talking about Soldier Boy. I'm like, I have no idea who the fuck that person is. I have no idea.
He's new. He's not.
Oh, so it's like that's a new character that just kind of
he's not. Oh,
okay. They were just talking about him like I'm supposed to know who the fuck he was. I'm like, I have no idea who the fuck this was.
Also, is that supposed to be a joke? Because every time somebody says Soldier Boy, I think of Soldier Boy.
I think Soldier Boy.
Is that the intent?
I think Soldier. I think I don't feel like doing this googling, Che, but I think that The Boys came out before Soldier Boy was a thing.
Is he in The Boys?
I think the character was in the comic The Boys.
Okay, I don't remember him being in the comic, but I also only read it once, like ages ago. So.
Yeah, and it's not great.
Oh, a Garth Ennis book that isn't very good, and is like way over the top and fucking
with
sexist and
ugly,
racist.
ugly ass art and
Who
just
would have thought?
so sexist and racist. So sexist
Who would have
and
guessed
racist.
it, Corey?
Jesus Christ, one of the most disturbing starts to a comic. I'm surprised I even fucking kept on reading that book.
It's just annoying because it's actually, I think a lot of his stuff.
I'm terrified. I'm sorry. I saw there was an episode in this season called Herogasm, which is one of the worst comics I ever read, which was like a spin-off, like little miniseries during The Boys. And I'm like, please. I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, please, we didn't have to touch on this. The gratuitous sex scenes already happen enough, and it's like fine because it's short and they're usually so ridiculous that it's kind of funny. But I don't need an entire episode about that.
It is written by Jessica Chow, who is one of the staff writers on Wu Assassins. So it's
Never
in
seen
great
that show.
hands. It's terrible. It's
Okay.
fucking awful, Corey. It's one of the worst Netflix shows I've ever seen.
You seem sincere, so fuck me.
I'm sorry. I thought you had seen it. I thought we
I
talked about
didn't.
it before.
No,
That's
I
the
never
only
saw
reason
it.
yeah.
I was too busy watching Nun Assassin. Is that the
I will
name
say-
of the show?
Non-assassin. I don't.
There's like
remember.
actually a show about like assassin nuns on Netflix, and I don't remember the name, but I feel like it might just be Nun Assassin.
When I Google nun assassins,
Uh-huh.
the only thing that comes up is the scene from Hitman Absolution where there are nun assassins. Oh, you know it's called Warrior Nun, I think is the thing you're talking about.
So I think this might be worse than Nun Assassins, honestly.
Yeah,
Yep,
somehow
Warrior
worse.
Nun.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
wasn't
Tate.
the Wu Assassin show. It has like cool action in it, but yeah, I'm not excited for this Hero Gasm episode either. I don't know. I find Amazon has a lot of really cool, interesting shows on the outskirts, and I think other than I want to say Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I do love. I love Mrs. Maisel. I find their popular shows to be really bland and like
Don't
sort of
remind me of Wheel of
failures.
Time.
Wheel of Time, just shit. Solos, which it's like this collection of like A-list actors in the most poorly written one-off episodes I've seen in a long time. But then they have shows like Outer Range, which I think is really exciting and interesting, and Josh Brolin's so fucking good in it. And I don't know, it's just the content creation over there, the content marketing and all that stuff is very interesting. I find it fascinating. The same people that could have given us a show like, or even like Invincible,
Yeah.
could have
which
given
is
us The
awesome.
Boys, which is like great and sort of the version
It's
of,
the
in a
same-
lot of ways, very
And
similar.
the same producers, too.
Right. Yeah. Did you watch The Boys animated show?
No.
I wonder if that's any good. I actually might watch it, but to see if it's just like,
The same.
yeah, I don't know.
It's funny. I just didn't even know that came out. And I feel like I usually notice all that superhero shit.
Oh,
so.
really? It was like on my homepage every time I went to go buy toilet paper for a year. They were like, "Would you also like to watch the Boys cartoon?" It's like, no, sir. I just need toothpaste. Leave me the fuck alone. Anything else to say about these first 3 episodes of The Boys?
Nah, I got nothing else to say.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break and come back and talk about Stranger Things. If you're watching the YouTube video, I suspect people have changed clothes because it's gonna be a
Yes.
different day. All right, see you guys in a second.
See ya.
This is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke, just like mowing the lawn. I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
Harley Quinn, nice to meet ya. Love your perfume. What is that? The stench of death? Oroska.
Whoa, easy, cowgirl. Ain't that kind of a mission. Have a seat.
She seems nice.
And we're back.
So,
All right, so time to talk Stranger Things. I think pretty spoiler-heavy conversation. We're going to be talking about the entirety of the first volume of Stranger Things 4, which is the first 7 episodes. So if you haven't watched that yet, feel free to dip out now and come back later, because I think the season's, you don't want to spoil the season for yourself. So
no, I think so. I think this is a pretty, I thought it was a pretty fun season. I mean, before we get into it, I think this might be my favorite season. Oh, it's not over yet, because we still have 2 more episodes coming out in July. But I think this might be my favorite season since the first one.
I don't want to make this into like the Netflix conversation, but why do you think they've started doing this thing with their show? They did the same thing with Ozark. They split the last season of Ozark into 2 parts.
So, I mean, I think there's two reasons, I guess. This is my two reasons. I feel like maybe they already were, like, in their release, in their, like, order, they're like, okay, we want Stranger Things to come out in June, like, way back when in their secret release window. And they're like, okay, this is when it's going to come out. But like, the directors have, like, also commented that the fact that they're still very heavily in edit. And the idea initially was that they were only supposed to do 8 episodes. And then very late into writing, they were like, oh, we actually want to do 9.
Okay.
So I think that might have had like a lot to do with the edit times as well. And the cynic in me thinks that it was actually just more like, yo, what if we just keep subscribers for 2 months instead of just 1 month, basically?
I mean, that's where I'm at. Is I'm thinking, and they're still very resistant about going weekly, which I think there's a lot of things Netflix could do that I think would save their business model. And going to a weekly release schedule for TV would do it. I'm as somebody who has a podcast and loves talking about TV and movies and all this stuff, watching this season is I think every time I watch like a big Netflix show, Ozark, like I was talking to you about this. I really like the experience of watching Ozark. I don't know if I love the show itself. I'm still vacillating with my thoughts on the finale of the show. But that show like came and went and disappeared into the night. Like nobody talked about it. Nobody I know. It doesn't help that nobody I know watches it. So that's the other thing. But unless you have friends talking about this, it's like impossible to have this ongoing conversation about Ozark the way that we do about these weekly shows. Like I think more people probably watch Stranger Things than do Game of Thrones. But one of the reasons of Game of Thrones, it was like 10 weeks it ran our lives.
That was awesome.
It just would be so fun to talk about this shit week to week is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, man, that's one kind of thing of like I like about, at least with the boys. I mean, like it's like we kind of talked about earlier this same episode, how we're both kind of like weird, like not weirded out by it, but at least I still have like friends who watch it,
right? And
so it's like fun to talk about like week to week episodes, kind of situation like that. And kind of hear people's thoughts from that kind of like idea. And I think like watching this season of Stranger Things, there was a point like before we start breaking it down. I think at the end of episode 4, Dear Billy, and that's the episode where Max is almost killed and escapes from the Upside Down, which I think was my favorite scene from this season, maybe the show, honestly.
She's just such a great character. Like
she's such a great character. Like I think
she's been one of the best additive additions to this show.
Honestly, I don't remember if she was added in season 2 or 3.
I think she's 3. I think she's just the last.
Stole the show. I think. Like I liked her a lot from the 3rd season, and I think like her character is such a good addition and a really good balance because, I mean, especially like the frank conversation about like the current cast and characters of the show, like. I don't really give a shit anymore about, I'm not saying I'm not enjoying their storyline, but I feel like we're kind of throwing ourselves into this.
Yeah. But you don't give a shit about who?
Like, let's just talk about the storylines, but I'm going to start with the Will, Jonathan, new stoner guy, and Mike, and their storyline in California.
Poor Jonathan got like disappeared this season. He's like doesn't exist. It's so weird.
He's like such a weird, like became a stoner, decided that this character, from a character like perspective, is like he disappeared. He's like girlfriend's pretty much like they're gonna break up because he didn't visit.
I thought that was such a weird move
to break them up, because I mean like I like Steve as a character who's like not really like in a relationship. I think that kind of makes Steve very endearing.
I also think Steve like his transition throughout the first 2 seasons from like sort of the villain or like the mini villain of the first season,
and then he like
one of the heroes is like a really satisfying character arc, and then this sort of I feel like undercuts it if he
and I kind of at least I don't know, it's like it does feel like it's undercuts it, but I mean I think in this situation it really takes 2 to tango, so like Nancy isn't without.
She seemed very game.
I think honestly, if anything, she's the one who's like really should have like kiboshed the
scene with the. Also, let's be very clear. My man is not Harry at all, which I thought was really funny that they said that. But they were like,
the scene with like Max just staring and just no words. Peak comedy.
I checked during that scene because I was like, kind of weird to have like this 13-year-old check it out.
They're in high school,
man. Well, but yes, but 13, 14.
Anybody,
She's
like
20
teenagers,
years
every
old.
teenager is horny, huh?
Yeah, she's 20 years old. That actress,
Yeah.
which is insane. We've had this conversation before about how I have no idea how old kids are. I would have bet my life she was under 15 easy.
I mean, they got barely lucky with these
Yes,
kids.
it's
Where
true.
They still look
insane
like
how
children.
little they've aged. Yeah.
We were
Especially
talking about
Will
this.
looks exactly the same.
Will looks like we were talking about this earlier. It's just like we're worried like there's only so much of a shelf life they have with this, but I'm like they still look like children. It's fine. It doesn't, and I don't really know if it's just like kind of like perspective and stuff like that.
6 years ago in kids' years is like a lot of time.
And nobody really seemed like their age. Like not even the adults. Everyone seems like to be like pretty much the same. Like it's very believable to me that this has only been over the span of 3 years. This show.
Yeah. Although jacked David Harbour is really funny.
It's
after his stint in the Marvel universe, he's just still in superhero shape for this Russian gulag.
It's so funny that he's like spent his like last 2 years in entertainment in a Russian gulag.
Yeah,
like good for him twice.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't even clock that, but that is really. He's basically. I mean, honestly, I would take the Black Widow prison over.
Oh yeah, that one seems a lot more. That one seems a lot more chill than this actual gulag.
No fucking monster feeding sessions at the Black Widow prison.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, sorry. We're going through the storylines.
Yeah, no, just like the storyline in California, with that little group. And I get the reason for them because we definitely need a reason to get back to Elle. Yeah. And it's been entertaining, but I kind of just realized watching it, I'm like, I don't really give a shit about these characters, honestly. And the one I'm enjoying the most is the new stoner character, Argyle.
It's interesting. I'll disagree a little bit on because I think the relationship stuff, at least, I'm with you. This is my least favorite storyline of we have like 3 major ones.
I do think the Mike and Will like relationship.
I think that stuff is actually really.
It's interesting because Mike is 100% gay, so and like I'm waiting for that shoe to drop.
You think so? You think they're gonna do that?
Oh man, I don't know. I think the hint is way too. I'm getting strong energy from that one, man. I don't really know if I'm reading too much into it, but it kind of seems like that's where they're gonna. Wait, I'm confused. Which one is
You think Will is gay?
Which Will? I think Will is.
Mike
gay.
is the one that's dating 11, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. I get them confused. I think Will is
interchangeable human beings, basically.
But I think he's gay. But I think like a very like interesting look at like just a general like friendship and like that age group and like. It feels. They keep the same vibe alive, where it's just like these are still kids.
Yeah,
and
I just think that's like a really relatable thing where you have this really close group of friends, and you think you're going to be when you're 7, you think you're going to be friends forever, and one friend has to move away for whatever reason, or you just sort of fall out over time, and one friend is really trying to keep in touch and stay close, and the other one is fucking girls. I guess.
And also like this is also a time without internet.
Yeah. Oh my god. The stuff that they have to do. I mean, that's the only reason the show even exists because otherwise, in season 1, they would have all been killed by the Demogorgon in their house alone playing Minecraft. Like
yeah, they would have been fucked.
They would have never been hanging out together.
They would not be hanging out. No, Xbox Live. They would not be hanging out together. That's for damn sure.
I will say so. The stuff in the LA storyline, like the Will, Mike, 11 storyline in particular, that didn't enjoy is. And we talked about this earlier, is the bullying stuff is like comically over the top.
It's like it's giving Stephen King a run for his money.
Yeah, the scene in the roller rink is like it just sort of undercuts the dramatic moment of like this whole thing with Elle feeling like an other again, and just this parallel between her in the modern timeline and then her back in the orphanage is really interesting. And then you have a scene where like a bunch of kids are skating around her in a circle laughing while like parents stand there and don't do anything. And then those same parents are horrified when she hits this kid who's assaulted her with a roller rink.
Yeah, it's very funny.
This is why I couldn't have a kid, because if I was in that roller rink with my kid and we weren't even involved, I would just be in the back like, good job. You beat the shit out of that stupid girl. I feel like the justice system fucking sucks, but it's just like, okay, you're arrested and you're going to juvenile hall within the same day. I would like to think that's not how it works.
No phone call.
It probably does.
It probably does, but it's just like, wow, just is like immediately like.
Huh. Yeah, I think there's some stuff that this show does. It's not just that was the most egregious.
Why would she be arrested then?
I don't. Yeah, the stuff that
why would they?
The Stranger Things does that I think is like it's trying to be in on the joke, and I think is maybe like we talked about like the cheerleader and the black guy, the cheerleader and the nerd and the black guy dying first. Like it's like a joke on a horror movie, but you did really do it in your TV show, and it like I don't really know where the like the tongue in cheek or like lampshading the joke ends. You know what I'm saying? And its effectiveness. Because I think if you do kill the cheerleader nerd and the black kid first, you did do that. you did. You can't be like, well, this is a funny thing that horror movies did when you also did it.
That's true. Weird. I don't know. I mean, I think the lampshading thing, to me personally, I'm like, I guess it didn't really bother me because I didn't even really think about it, especially because like the cheerleader died. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's like
I
get what you're going for.
Peeve is when the kids in high school walk around in their cheerleading and like basketball uniforms like during class. It's like this is not how high school works.
I mean, I wore when I played on the football team. We would do that.
You'd walk around school with
homecoming. Like around homecoming, yeah.
Yes, but they're like every single day. All they wear is cheerleading outfits. Like
because that's what the '80s were, Che. How else are we supposed to know that they're on the cheerleading? I'm just saying their personalities are very much just like it's show don't tell though. I mean, like it's kind of like a little bit. Like, but you're right. You are right.
A little bit of telling though. It's like this girl's a cheerleader. She wears a cheerleading uniform everywhere.
It is like right after the game though, Che, and it's it's like during their like pep rally with their weird evangelical like basketball captain. But like let me just wrap up my whole thing on but it's just like I get that. I was just kind of like, but every time we would go back to that storyline, I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like this is like I get where you're going to this, and it's like I guess it's like mostly just comic relief in a sense with you guys, except for that really good action sequence. The one shot scene where like in the house when like the military breaks in and starts shooting everybody.
There's been a lot of really good action sequences.
There was just like it was a weird one shot take where this like fat like cop guy just like starts going ballistic, and I'm like, this guy fucking rocks.
I'm not sure I understand the military storyline. Like why is that guy going around torturing like
it seems
police
like
officers to figure out where 11 is?
I guess what the assumption is now is that that group is no longer affiliated with the government. Wherever 11 is now.
Yeah.
And I mean, like he's fucking he's a psychopath, obviously.
It's
but
it felt so out of place in the rest of the season, and it doesn't seem to. Maybe it will come back in the final 2 episodes. Doesn't seem to have had much impact at all. Which is the other thing that was weird about it. Is it seems like gratuitous villain for gratuitous villain's sake.
I think that's what I mean. Like we're getting both of those from both storylines.
Yes.
And it's like then we have like the other side of the things where we got that whole like literal mob frenzy going to chase down a group of children.
Wait, like they were gonna murder the kids, right? That was their plan. Their plan was to kill the kids.
But
like
yeah, I mean, like
fucking Salem witch trials. Like what the hell was that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like let's hop back over to Hawkins then. Because I mean, I think like I have nothing else to really say about the California people. It's just like it was just fine, and I feel like it was just fine. And I feel like it's gonna probably have some kind of payoff, but like it's fine. But I was gonna say like I really like the Hawkins group. Yeah. Like that little crew is just very fucking entertaining. I think they're probably my favorite storyline.
I'm still team Russian Gulag, but I can see why.
I think at first I got really annoyed that he got recaptured in the Gulag thing. I was like legitimately mad. Then I'm like, come the fuck on. I was like, he's gonna be back during the middle of the season. We can keep the plot moving. I'm like, oh fucking, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
I really love.
I warmed up
Dimitri.
on it. I warmed up on it because of Dimitri. Like when Dimitri ended up like getting caught, I think I started warming up on that plot line because I mean him and David Harbour's like chemistry together is just very good. And I think that was like so like that kind of brought me back. And I weirdly was enjoying what the fuck is oh my god, I forgot what the main actress's name, Winona Ryder's
her and Brett Gelman, like just...
I really was enjoying that as well because it was just like over the top ridiculousness, but it was just like
Brett Gelman was just, suddenly black belt master
but it was hilarious. So funny. Yeah. I thought it was just gonna be a bit that I'm like, oh no, he's actually can fight now, and I'm like, that's funny. Like that's better than just having a stupid one-off joke.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it funnier though? Because I was like,
I think it's funnier.
Well, I don't know, but if he was truly awful at it, like genuinely terrible, would it be funnier? You obviously can't have it because later he has to beat up all those guys in the control room. But
I think it's genuinely funnier because of the whole build-up that he was just like, I beat a 16-year-old, but he's a really good 16-year-old. And I'm like, oh, that kid must be really fucking. That kid's in the Karate Kid somewhere. He's actually doing really. But yeah,
I think the way that this show sort of juggles and shuffles in and out cast members is the thing that I find most effective about it. Like, I sort of forgot that Sean Astin was in the show, and he was so good in it. And they just have this way of weaving in and out storylines. I would imagine we probably won't see Dimitri, who played by Tom Walsh-Chiha, I think. You guys will know him as Sirio Farrell, right? No, not Sirio Farrell. What's his fucking character's name from Game of Thrones?
The man who has no name or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. The
faceless man.
Yeah.
Faceless man.
But yeah, I think I really loved his storyline this season, but I'm fully prepared for him not to be in season 5. But I just think that's fine, right? Because we had Dacre Montgomery, the other guy the evil brother who gets killed. The way the show uses like sort of one season arcs is, I think, more effective than I've seen any other show do it. Which is tough to do because you usually need to spend a lot of time, especially in TV shows. You spend a lot of time with a character to get invested in them, but the writing with these side like B and C tier characters has been really, really well done, I think. Especially this season, where they added a lot bunch of characters. Only one I'm just like completely out on is the evangelical boyfriend.
This is that plot line just so fucking insane though.
It's just like I don't know, it doesn't add to anything to the plot. So that's the thing that's like sort of annoying to me, is that we're just spending a lot of time with him when I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It was, to me personally, I'm like, oh, he saw his friend float into the air and die. He's gonna realize it's something like, nope, just it's the devil. I'm like,
yeah. Although to be fair, if you did think that
but I don't know
devil powers, that wouldn't then convince you he didn't have devil powers.
I don't know if I would be. I don't know if I would think he. Well, I guess we weren't around during the Satan panic or whatever. It
is. I mean, people who are watching the show maybe don't realize this was a genuine thing that people thought Dungeons and Dragons was like a satanic cult for a while, and there was, I think, weirdly, which is insane to think about now, genuine panic among parents that their kids were like joining a demonic cult.
Can I also point out a very like my own like anecdotal about this? When I first moved to New York, I was seeing this girl, and I mentioned like when I was a kid, I played Dungeons and Dragons. And she was like, "You were a Satan worshiper?" And I'm like,
"No fucking way!" She said that. That's
I am not lying. I am not lying, Che. I swear. But I was just like, "I'm sorry."
I didn't think people like people who had kids in the 70s, I could see still thinking that. But why the fuck would she still think that?
I don't know, man. Religion's a hell of a drug. But yeah, and I think like honestly, but I think that whole like Hawkins group, I think that entire group just like really worked well off each other. Where to the point I'm like, I could just watch their movie. Like I could just watch the movie about this like friend group basically. And I think they also get a lot of the best scenes too. Like
I think it also
Max's
helps
scene.
They're probably the best collection of actors in totality. I mean, obviously Winona Ryder and Brett Gelman and David Harbour, but they have less acting to do. It's more like comedy shtick and then action sequences back and forth.
Basically, yeah. Like the Hawkins kids though, they have to like do a lot of like. I mean, that's the reason people like the show in the first place though, because like the kids just felt so genuine.
Caleb McLaughlin has turned into like a legit actor. I will be very interested to see what his career looks like after the show ends. Is he
Black
Kid? Yeah.
Black Kid. Yeah, he's really
He was
good.
in Concrete Cowboy, which if you guys haven't seen that, I recommend. That's the Idris Elba Netflix movie from a couple years ago. That was really good. And he's fantastic in it. I think it's the only other thing I've seen him in besides... he was also in High Flying Bird, but a much smaller part. But yeah, I think a lot of these kids have a very... I mean, obviously Millie Bobby Brown has already had a pretty successful movie career. I mean, successful then she's getting roles, not that she's made good stuff, because that Godzilla movie is unwatchable.
Well, the problem is that she's the worst thing in the...
She is, but I still don't think it's her fault. I'm not sure.
Wait, are we talking about Kong vs. Godzilla? Or we're talking about the second Godzilla movie that's really bad. Honestly. The second Godzilla movie. Kong vs. Godzilla was fun, and
it's fun, but she's also bad at it. Like
we talked about this. Like if we removed her storyline, the film is better. Nothing changes, and the film is much better.
Yeah.
But also, Gaten Matarazzo, who plays Dustin. Yeah. He's also just he's just great, and I mean, like that entire little crew is great.
I think they've formed a really good chemistry among the 5 main kids now with Max and the 3 older kids. Although again, I guess Charlie Heaton like just got yeeted into space or something. It's just like not in a couple episodes this season, which is so weird.
Sorry, who's Charlie Heaton again?
Charlie Heaton's the Jonathan, the Will's brother. Will's
oh yeah, he's he's there in the background, but they're not really giving him anything to do,
which is odd. And
they gave him one scene about freaking out about his girlfriend and like exposition about it, and then other than that, he's just kind of been like the second adult in the group, basically.
Yeah, his high friend Argyle is in more. It feels like more of a character in this.
I think and he's much better. He's much more enjoyable.
Oh,
what do you do? That grave scene is very, very funny.
He's like, he has no sense of what the, like, when to not. He tried to fuck this girl when they're trying to save the world. Like,
yep.
Takes her into the van, smokes some weed. Like, come on, man. Get your priorities in order.
We got things going on. This Mormon girl in the back of the van. Took me a while. I thought that was a foster house, but they're just Mormon.
And there's like 8 kids there.
They're in Salt Lake City, Utah. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
I saw somebody online point it out. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's why there's so many fucking kids there.
Yeah, and she's like insanely religious, and so is her dad.
Yeah, I just didn't put that together.
Would Mormons have a computer in their house in the 70s?
Well, I think they definitely would go to immediately like, this is the devil, after doing like one bad thing. So I feel like if that was the only computer in their house.
Yeah.
But what else? I guess the only thing we haven't talked about is like Eleven's storyline. Which was,
yeah,
I mean,
that is sort of the, especially once you get to the end of the season, that's like the crux of the overarching,
like the bad guy
of the show. Yeah, I mean it's very clear, and obviously 11 is like the main character of the show, so it makes sense. But it's very clear we're setting up for, I think, a very big 11 season coming, and probably these next 2 episodes, I would imagine, in Volume 2, are going to be heavy 11 episodes. Because she even this season she's less. I think she's sharing a lot of screen time. We get a lot of her flashbacks and stuff. I thought the way they de-aged her was really
yeah, that was really well done.
Well done CGI, because that
was really well done CGI.
It didn't even really click with me until a couple episodes in. I was like, oh, they're obviously doing this with effects, because that's not how old Millie Bobby Brown looks now.
I think it was a face swap, but it was a very well done face swap. Could not tell at some points. But yeah, I thought, I liked her scenes. At first I was like, oh, we're going to do this again. But I'm like, as it went on, I'm like, okay, this is... Yeah. And it's a weird thing where I'm like, I guess this is what I really love about Stranger Things. I guess I kind of like the more like kids fighting monsters part of it.
Yeah, but you need it for the rest of the show to work.
You do, and especially because the way this storyline does play out. Into what I actually did like about this whole like Freddy Krueger-esque villain, that we actually have like a villain with intelligence that's kind of fighting back against our main characters. Like, that actually has a personality. And I didn't expect to like that as much as I did.
Although it's weird to give him a personality and then also make him seem like he just kills indiscriminately. Because usually you get one without the other. You get like faceless evil monster like the Demogorgon who's just killing kids, and then or you get calculated killer who seems to be hunting people for a reason. But the 3 people you see him kill don't seem to have any. Other than they have
at the end of the season, pretty much the reveal is that he's just a fucking psychopath.
Right, he's just crazy.
He's like, he can just pretty much read people's minds and see that they're fucked up, and like he's just fucking crazy basically. Yeah. And I guess it's just, and I guess the whole like, we don't know the end all be all, but I guess it's more like how many, I guess, got to keep on opening more portals, I guess, throughout the it's like Hawkins that lives on the fucking top of a hellmouth it has to fucking be a portal to hell, because there's no other explanation.
My biggest nitpick of the show is, would anybody live in Hawkins?
No.
Still.
No, there's so many murders that happen, man.
I think 3 dead kids, I'm gone. I'm like, all right, this is not the place for me.
I think
lovely scenery and everything, but I'm moving the fuck away from here.
I think as soon as a kid goes missing, they find his body, and then that kid ends up being alive still. I'm like, nah, there's something fucky going on here. We out. There's some fucky shit happening here. We out.
I'm like people move out of their buildings, they see like 2 cockroaches. I'm not staying in a town after multiple kids die. And even these parents who were like, believed that these kids were Satan worshipers and like had the power of the devil, they still were like, well, we'll stick around in Hawkins. I mean, it must be, the real estate must be very cheap in Hawkins. Yeah, I have. So when we first talked about this, I think the people who have listen to the podcast or watching the video will be more obvious. Know that this is like we're recording the next day. And yesterday when I was talking about this show, I think I previewed that I didn't really love this season. I hadn't yet watched the 7th episode yet, so at the time I'd only watched 6. And I think the 7th episode does tie a lot of a lot of the issues I had with this season together. I think there's like the some of the writing of this show is like over the top and everything. But
sometimes the writing is good, and sometimes I'm like, this is impossible.
Yeah,
so it's like that's and they kind of balance. Sometimes, and I hope they work on that for the 5th season. But I think at the same time, there's definitely some of the 80s movie trope. I feel like, and I don't really know if it's lampshading or not. Because like, for example, like David Harbour's first escape from that prison is so insane because he was first off he does a big explosion, hops on a fucking snowmobile, and drives up in distance shoeless.
Yeah, it's also like again,
after breaking his ankle.
Yeah, why do this? Why have this? And yeah, but I mean, yeah, that was insane. And then of course he gets captured by the most comically Russian man of all time. And how much do you think Jif had to pay for the plug?
I don't know, but didn't Jif get recently like recalled for some fucking reason? So I don't fucking know. Actually, I think they're trying to get back in the PR campaign.
I can't say I'm a Jif guy, so I wouldn't know.
I'm not either.
Yeah, I don't. I'm excited to see. I think the show will be not just this season, which we will see the finale of in July, a couple weeks from now.
Yeah,
I think this is a very difficult show to land because a lot of I think the resolution of all this stuff is quite difficult. They've set up a lot, and I think if they do it well, I think this could be really fantastic. But they've set up a lot of strands they need to tie together, a lot of disparate storylines and everything. I wonder if this is a prediction for way down the line, but I wonder if season 5 they trim some of the storylines and we see.
I could definitely. I feel like we're gonna end this season with a lot more people being a lot more consolidated in one place.
I think we'll be closer to season 1 where it's like basically 2 things.
Which is what I missed about season 1 the most. I think it was just like they kept on separating people in the later seasons. I'm like, no, I like when the characters were so interchangeable in each setting, and it made it a lot more fun for that thing. But I guess at this point now, all the characters have so much chemistry that this works. I'm just kind of wondering what the shuffle is, like what the next shuffle is going to be for the next season.
It's just like interesting to think. Like, has Maya Hawke ever been on screen with David Harbour in this show? It's just like I'm sure maybe once or twice, but like there's a lot of characters in the show that maybe have never even seen each other really.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think there's really
characters too.
There's like I don't think there would be even like a straight up reason for her to interact with David Harbour for more than maybe 1 second.
Yeah, I can't think of it. I'm sure somebody listening to this is remember like something in season 3 when they saw each other. But my point is basically like we have all of these characters that we've, like you said, they've spread everybody out. They've been, and then I think over the next couple episodes and then in season 5, it all will have to come to a point. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. I have tentative optimism for the way this show will end. I think the next 2 episodes will really define how I feel about going into season 5. And we said they're like 3.5 hours total. So we're getting basically a movie to close the season.
It's basically a movie. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I just know it's gonna be long as shit.
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of work to do with this resolving the storylines of the season. So it makes sense that we have.
I mean, even though there was only like 7 episodes, I would forget that I'm watching 1 episode because of how much shit happens in 1 episode. But the length of it, I think the pacing was really well done too. Because it's like it kind of did one of the first shows I think I binged in a long time, and I was like not getting bored by it, which I feel like, which is like unfortunately happens with a lot of binging shows where I just kind of get tuned out after a while.
The number of Netflix shows I watch like 3 episodes in one night and then forget it exists, and I log into Netflix a month later and I'm like, oh, that's right, I can continue watching this show. I completely forgot all the names of the characters and the storylines. It's certainly not the case with Stranger Things. I mean, this is their most popular show for a reason. So we'll see how this concludes. Do you have anything else to say about Stranger Things?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, yeah, neither do I. So let's close it out for the people. I've been Che.
Good. I've been Cory.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.